Hello, loyal citizens of Super Earth. Rick here with a video cultural index looking into the greatest spacefaring civilization of all time. I'm not being coerced into writing this by the constant monitoring of the Super Earth High Command or Ministry of Defense. Honest. You do not need to send help. Ahem. That all being said, I, like many others, have been enjoying an unexpected foray into the patriotic parody of planet-pounding pods partaking in a party of pain and play. And, well, basically having fun in this science fiction universe, to the point where I wanted to make a video on the broad strokes of its universe, as its history might not be immediately relevant to players. So, in case you're unfamiliar, Helldivers takes place in a setting where Earth has proceeded into an interstellar civilization, but one under the constant internal monitoring and militant propaganda, turning the citizenry towards conquest and warfare with an overly patriotic flair. Dissent is not tolerated, and even questioning the so-called managed democracy is a crime. All you need to know is that you are here to take orders and bust bugs while riddling robots. Enemies of Super Earth who totally have no justification to their attacks. Sarcasm and satire is abound. So, first off, the age of exploration ensued after the invention of the Alcubierre warp drive around 2030, setting out into the stars by 2044. It was not long before humans encountered new alien life as they began to settle outer colony worlds and develop their own galactic society. We shall get back to first contact with aliens in a minute, as Earth itself was now known as Super Earth, and a single planetary government formed. Collectively, Super Earth and her colony worlds were referred to as the Federation of Super Earth. A president of it all was elected, and bodies of legislature around it arose, forming one super nation. We have the Super Earth High Command, which oversees it all, the Democratic Council of Super Earth that works with the President. There are various ministries and departments under this that manage the variety of aspects of infrastructure of government and numerous businesses, most of which are directly employed governmental institutions, such as the Super Earth Construction Company. The election process for Super Earth is still technically a democratic one, but well, it's managed by an advanced artificial intelligence of algorithms that knows best. Basically, citizens take a test on what they prefer, then the AI votes for them based on their answers. Imagine your life being at the whim of an algorithm. Should I open a Patreon? Celebrations of Super Earth are taken on the 26th of October, which is Liberty Day, and all citizens must pledge themselves to Super Earth to show respect to the flag and wear the Super Earth uniform. If you want to have a child, you must complete the C1 permit, and every citizen is given a ceremonial, but functional, M2016 Constitution bolt-action rifle when they turn 16. Citizens fall into various grades, with military personnel required to be of grade E or higher. Earning citizenship points will improve your standing in society, and all this is collated on the galactic wide web. Here, a person leaves a personal data footprint of their demographics, biometrics, and patriotics. Publicly expressing negative opinions of Super Earth is considered a crime. Anyway, on with the history lesson. In a relatively short amount of time, it seems, this managed democracy began to curtail any dissident thoughts or behaviour, employing military tactics and placing all police under the control of the Ministry of Defense. Assassins and riot control specialists were created to quell insurgent activities, and those who wished to secede from the Federation. It's about now that the titular Helldivers were first created. But back to first contact with alien life. It's not clear exactly when, but the humans had been aware of alien life for some time, but it was not long before the start of the game that it went to war with all of them. The original game is set in 2084, and prior to this, possibly around 2079, Super Earth made the decision that communication with discovered alien life could pose a threat. So every species apparently turned hostile against Super Earth all at once. Clearly, they are the baddies. The second game is set a century later, while the warfare has not abated, and looking too much into the start of the various conflicts is a crime against Super Earth. Because of this stance, it is difficult to unearth the real origins for many of these conflicts, and even cycling the following stories is considered sedition. the cyborgs. It is said that they were once humans who augmented themselves, or possibly were augmented, into machines now known as the Automatons. It's likely that they were a slave caste on the planet Cyberstan until they rebelled against Super-Earth through bombings. The leadership of the Automatons cited that Super-Earth's ideals were a lie and that all citizenry was brainwashed. The aim of the war against them is to occupy Cyberstan and make them compliant with the democratic take of Super-Earth. Political labels are thrown around continuously, referring to the cyborgs as socialists, but an interesting side note is that if their factories and technology are captured, they are put under the umbrella of the SECC, the Super-Earth construction companies. The sentient bugs are from Kepler Prime and are called Terminids. They secrete a biofuel when they decompose that can be used in multiple ships and systems for Super-Earth. Refineries and oil pumps have been found on many bug colonies and even their homeworld, suggesting that they were being harvested for their oil at some point. Now they are hostile against humans, and I'm sure there is no link there. The Super-Earth propaganda describes how they are a destructive pest that spreads across multiple worlds and needs to be quelled, but they are also very careful never to wipe them out entirely. As for the Illuminate, they are blue-skinned aliens with bioelectric processes that dwell in aquatic environments. They have settled the southern Milky Way, and when first encountered, offered a peace treaty to Super-Earth. This was rejected when Super-Earth learned that the Illuminate possessed planet-destroying firepower. A preemptive strike was authorized to protect Super-Earth, and thus war ensued. Naturally, showing any leniency or peaceful intent towards them is also a crime, punishable by death. Super-Earth has captured their technology before and reverse-engineered it to produce shield generator tech. The goal of the war is to force the Illuminate into submission and turn over all their research and tech to Super-Earth, so that they can learn from it and use it to safeguard the galaxy. Also, the Illuminate would not be allowed a military ever again. So, let's take a look at Super-Earth's primary answer to these probably self-made threats. The Helldivers. The Helldivers are the first and last line of offence against the enemies of Super-Earth and part of the SEAF. Becoming a Helldiver requires you to be a citizen of Class E or higher, and you get sent to basic training once, and then are sent into the fray as the commander of your own super destroyer. While incredibly well funded and outfitted, they're not highly trained. Additionally, any injury or requisitions that are needed for their vessel or operations are to be funded from their own pocket. But, to be fair, their wages are usually enough to cover it. In the likely event that a Helldiver in command perishes, their gear is assigned to another Helldiver. These Helldivers are kept in cryogenic storage and defrosted when needed. So, why become a Helldiver? Well, aside from the propaganda that is flooded into the populace since birth, it is considered exceptionally patriotic duty, and their families receive 4.5 citizenship points, as well as a martyrdom bonus if the Helldiver gets taken out. Helldivers are granted incredible amounts of firepower and resources, however, but not exactly trained in its use, leading to many incidents of friendly fire. The name Helldivers comes from their method of planetary insertion, which is through a series of drop pods known as Hellpods. These bullet-shaped capsules each hold one occupant, withstand re-entry speeds, and are fired towards a planet where they descend past any aerial defences. They then deploy thrust brakes before embedding into the ground and releasing their occupant from the top of the capsule. Surprisingly, they actually have a minuscule fail rate and are by far one of the lowest causes of Helldiver death. In order to paint what kind of society encourages these maniacs, let's look at the Helldiver Contract of Employment. Among its many clauses are the ones that you would expect. No negative opinions of the Helldivers or Super-Earth are to be spread, and you must report any such disloyal thoughts. Helldivers waive their right to refuse experimental narcotics and tech, and they are not allowed to subcontract to anything else. Helldivers themselves are solely responsible for any crimes they commit, war crimes or otherwise, even if ordered to. The SEAF is not responsible. Foreknowledge of products, pricing, seasonal discounts are classified as military intel, and spreading them is treated as harshly as leaking intelligence operations. Section 3.2 of the Helldiver Contract for Employment states that any information they learn outside of common knowledge is controlled classified material. Even the very terms of service it's mentioned in is considered so and must not be discussed. Also, the contract is binding if read in whole or part. Oh. Whoops. This includes being within proximity to the contract for over a second. Well, looks like I recruited a whole bunch of new Helldivers. Helldiver employment, though, can be ended if they are mortally wounded and unable to pay for treatment, or if you are expunged from the SEAF for any reason they see fit, with no warning. In terms of technology, Super-Earth is already host to some amazing developments, like the warp drive, which can be used over planets to jump a few miles or thousands of light years in seconds. Laser technology, magnetic railguns, and experimental electric arc weaponry is all common, as are mechs. It looks like they have begun to experiment with deflector shield technology, the origin of which is classified but probably reverse engineered from the Illuminate. The galactic wide web is basically space internet and a form of advanced quantum entanglement communications, meaning it's instantaneous. The only delay in messages is caused by the Super-Earth's internal affair divisions sorting through the messages for signs of dissent, ideology, or opinions, such as calling for a ceasefire or desiring peace talks with the foes of Super-Earth. Saying this, Super-Earth itself appears to be a pretty well maintained and comfortable setting, so long as you comply and do not question the omnipresent managed democracy of the algorithm that decides what you want for you. So long as you do not question the authorities or even think negatively about them. You sign away all rights to your own lives, have to apply to have children, wear identical clothing, and conform, but that's fine. The managed democracy knows best. And yes, it is watching you to make sure. For your own security, of course. Now, sign up, get some shiny new tech, and go slap some bugs. Oh, and be sure to capture those oil refineries that are on their planets for some unrelated reasons. Good luck out there, you're going to need it. In all seriousness, Helldivers is a fun game just on the surface, and much of this even plays on the notion that all this lore is irrelevant. Just as the Helldivers are expected to lay down their lives in orders they don't need to understand in a war they cannot question, the game is just that too. It's meant to be enjoyed and not thought about too hard, but that itself is a great ludonarrative design that pokes a lot of fun at various dystopian topics. Thanks for watching this index on Super-Earth and the Helldivers. I've been Rick, and I guess I best report for Basic in the morning. Until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Eagle 1, leaving combat zone to resupply.